Sail the coast of Ireland with O'Malley on a crest.
I love that song. It always gets me pumped up and ready to go play in Atlas. But today's question during the Atlas Explorer series is going to be capping over, are you ready for Atlas? So if you are not in Atlas yet and you're trying to decide whether it's right for you or not, this is the right video for you. Now, if you're new to my channel, welcome. I want to thank you for stopping by. Before you leave, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and, of course, sign up for notifications as well. All right, so in today's video, we're going to be going over, are you ready? I want to make sure that as we walk through this series this time around, that we kind of walk it from a beginner aspect and work our way out. So the first thing is, for somebody that's not even in Atlas, are you ready for it? Whether you're a player or you're a team that's looking to get into Atlas, as leadership, for example. So this is going to be the video that's going to help you make that decision. I'm not going to tell you whether you are or not, because I really think it's a personal thing and it's going to be different from everyone. Now, the things we're going to go over, of course, are going to be very much my own personal opinion. Some things are mixed in with a little bit of facts, but, everybody has their own opinion on this game. But here's the thing. There are a lot of good and bad things about Atlas. So let's go over the pros and the cons of Atlas. Now, there are far more pros and cons than I probably was able to come up with in a short period of time. But here are 8 of each that I think many people will relate to. Now, one thing is the pros are for castle banking, extra egg tokens, extra timers. You'll be able to expand your circle, Rider gear shards, Rider leveling, Rider missions, and then bonus, which is easy XP. And then number 1 for cons is double the gaming. Atlas Politics, it's a money-driven section. The elite cost versus the benefits. There are more requirements on your team. It is confusing at first, it rarely sleeps, and it is a higher stress situation. So let's go over these. Cons first. Now, the one is it is double the game. Now, what I mean by this is you're not just playing your events on the regular side. You're, keeping up with whatever you might need when it comes to building up your dragons or the strength of your base or whatever. But you're actually going to have 2 aspects of this game. So you're going to be playing one game and in essence, an entirely other game. Yeah, there are some cross-section benefits, which we'll go over, but it really is entirely like a whole other game. Like, it could be on its own app, really, honestly. So that's one thing. The second thing is there are some Atlas politics. Now, if you're just the common player on a team, you're not really dealing with the politics of Atlas as much as somebody, let's say, in leadership. However, everybody will be touched when it comes to the politics of Atlas because, for example, if you're in an alliance with somebody or in a 5TA, which they call your small alliance within Atlas, you might work together within events and so forth. And if that being said, if you are one of the regular players on your team, you're going to have to follow those rules to help keep that alliance stronger. Now, another con, of course, it is money driven. Now, I know that there's a lot of people out there that look at other teams and go, wow, they're big spenders. That's why they're always winning in this event. But it's even bigger when you look at it on the Atlas side. Now, your strongest teams in Atlas are going to spend the most amount of money. They're going to have lots of elite members on their team. They're going to have a lot of people spending, bukus of money to get those prizes so they can get bonuses on their Primarchs and so forth. So there is a lot more money-driven aspects to this side of the game. So if you're against that, it may not be for you. Now, another con, of course, is the elite cost versus the benefits. So on the regular side of War Dragons, it's like very cheap to get, your elite. And it gives you all these little bonuses like, double the food, double this, double that. Gives you 75% more XP. And it's fairly cheap. I mean, you can get a whole year for, I think, like $40. You can get, I like to get a week on an alt, for example, here and there when they need the XP for $2. And then you get like a month for $5. But it's like $20 a month for Atlas Elite on the opposite side. That is a big one. Now, another one I would say is there are more requirements. So if you're going to have a castle, for example, on that side, you're going to need to be able to, do gold attacks and bring in gold for your team to be able to keep those castles, as well as building up troops and a lot of other things to be able to hold those castles as well. And that is, of course, let's say you are going to Atlas to get those castles, which I would assume would be most teams' plans. So with that being said, it does have more requirements of you if you're going to be on a team with Atlas. Now, another con, a big one here, is it is very confusing at first. When you first join Atlas, it's like, I don't know what in the world these words mean. I don't understand what to do, where to go, or anything. So if you have a hard time understanding the regular set of War Dragons, or, at this point, then you may not be ready for Atlas, because it is a whole other ball game, and it's not going to use the same terminology as it does on the regular set of War Dragons. So if you get confused with the regular side, like I say, it's probably not for you yet, but at first it is very confusing. However, it does eventually come together for you. Now, it rarely sleeps. Atlas is a 24/7 around-the-clock situation, and it is constantly moving. Now, luckily, PvPs do create a time frame of which they call like a downtime, where just like with wars, they can't actually go after your castles. It'll put a shield over it so that you're safe. However, the moment those shields go down at the end of the PvP, there are teams galore out there fighting to keep their castles. And literally, you can be in bed and wake up and your castle has been taken. So it literally never sleeps. And you're against everybody, not just people in your own league. Now, because of that, because you're against everyone, you're against diamond teams, you're against sapphire teams, whatever, it's also higher stress level. So because you're constantly having to check on your castles, your Primarchs, or whatever, it can be a bigger stress on you in general. So that's one thing to keep in mind when it comes to this game is, on the Atlas side, is it is a higher stress level. So if you get stressed out by wars easily or being attacked, let's say, PvPs, then it may not be a place for you either, because that can be a big one. Now let's go over the 8 pros that I came up with. Now the first one being castle banking. That is one of the biggest awesome things that you can utilize during your resource events. So things like the feeding event and the fortification event, you're going to be able to store away, extra resources so that you can utilize those during those events. Now, not everybody with Atlas is going to be able to do this. You actually have to own a castle, which means you're going to have to upkeep with gold and things of that nature. But it is nice because you're going to be able to get a lot more points, and it's a great place to store your stuff. Now, another pro, of course, is extra egg tokens. And as you guys know, egg tokens are very hard to come by. So not only are you going to get your daily bonus that you get from your team, but in Atlas, when you go over, you're going to be able to collect a daily amount of tokens if you own a castle. And of course, if you level that up, it'll give you more and more and more. So the more castles you own, and the higher the level they are, the more egg tokens you're going to get. So this is pretty nice. And then, of course, you can earn egg tokens in other areas like egg missions and in the event itself. I'm pretty sure they still have those in there. I didn't even look. But that is a great aspect of that side. That's probably pretty much one of the only 2 things. The other one being the extra timers that really cross-references between the Atlas side and the non-Atlas side, because you can use these resources on the non-Atlas side to be able to gain points in events, for example. Because, you need timers, for example, if you're doing the breeding event and you want to speed one up, or if you're trying to speed up stuff for the fortification event. So with that being said, those are 2 big aspects that are really nice about Atlas when it comes to, giving you something back to be able to use towards the regular side of War Dragons. Now, another one is it does allow you to expand your circle. So you're going to get to know a lot more people than just those on your team. So if for some reason your team isn't working out for you, you're going to be able to, get to know other teams out there. And if you decide that, hey, they're a lot like us, or I like the way they do things, it's going to give you that ability to actually reach out and move to those teams. However, there are sometimes some stipulations or agreements between the leadership of different alliance teams, where, for example, if you're in a 5TA together, you may not be able to switch back and forth because they may have, like a pact that you won't take each other's players. Another big pro is rider gear shards. Now, what I mean by this is if you don't really have riders yet, when you get your riders, you can actually put gear on them, and this gear can actually be leveled up in your forge building. And in that forge building, you're able to take what they call rider shards, which are different elements, and level up your gear. Now, if you don't have Atlas, you can actually level up now, thanks to the recent update, but the only shards you're going to get is the ones you collect in the event. However, if you're an Atlas, you can attack and get extra, which is always great. Which also brings me to the fact of rider leveling. So you've got these riders in your roster that you can't really do anything with. There's a reason for it. It's because those riders are not, hireable yet. You've got to actually have Atlas so that you can hire these writers and build up what they call glory, or you can call it XP, whatever you want to call it, but it is called glory on the side of Atlas, and level that up so that you can make one of your dragons even stronger. So that is one great aspect. And then of course you can get the writers as well that you can level up also. Now, just like the egg missions in the balloon, there are actually what you call writer missions where you can get egg tokens as well. You can actually get some other things too. You can get timers, gold, whatever. Now, I like to use these mostly just for egg tokens because that's where I feel I need my resources the most at. But this is another great way to get those extra egg tokens without really having to do anything. You just click on something and your writer and your dragon go off and do their little thing. However, keep in mind that when you're doing missions with your writer and your dragon, they won't be available for regular attacks. I think easily the biggest thing that I love about Atlas is the bonus XP that you can get when you're attacking mines and beasts in Atlas. Now, these are just random bases that you hit, and depending on the size of your team's castles and how many they have will depend on how much bonus XP you're going to get on top of your baseline XP. Now, with that being said, these are also easy to take bases because they don't have any mage towers, so you're going to be able to really utilize your spells. And then, of course, there's no flax or turrets either. So they're going to be high-leveled, large bases, and something that some of your smaller dragons can even take. So it's pretty great. Now, the question is, with those pros and those cons together, are you ready? Are you ready to take that leap and jump right into a team or jump your team into the world of Atlas? Now, we're going to go over the yes. Now, again, this is my personal opinion. There are going to be, other opinions out there, or, the fact that you can still go into Atlas even if you don't fall under these categories and still survive. But this is the way I say, whether you are ready for Atlas or not. Now, number one, you have the time to invest in Atlas. And what I mean by that is because it's double the game, you're going to need more time to be able to do both aspects. You're going to need to be able to keep up with the regular side of, War Dragons, but also with the things that you need to do in Atlas, whether it be gold runs or it be leveling up your Primarchs or gaining glory for your Primarchs and your writers or whatever that might be. So that is a big one that you need to keep in mind. So with that being said, if you have time, then yes, definitely a good place for you. Another one is, are you willing to work with leadership? Your leadership is going to be giving you, a lot of communication when it comes to Atlas. They're going to be asking you to help other teams in the Alliance protect their castles. They're going to ask you to help take, a castle out. They're going to ask you to put in gold, whatever. As long as you're willing to work as a team and work with your leadership, then you're definitely going to be one that's great for Atlas because it really is a team-based side of Atlas, extreme team-based. So that is one huge one. Now, are you ready to learn? Because this isn't going to be like the regular set of War Dragons. This is going to have its own game. It's like I told you, it could almost be in its own app. This is so different from the regular set of War Dragons that if you're not ready to learn and willing to learn the things that you need to be successful in Atlas, then you're just going to be basically flying around killing troops and not really making it anywhere. So if you're ready to learn, then this is definitely a place for you. And last but not least, you understand the normal side of War Dragons. If you don't understand War Dragons yet, just how to basically, do attacks or how to beat bases that are a little stronger than yours or whatever that might be, then you may not be ready for Atlas. You might need to focus in on learning the regular set of War Dragons before you go and you add this whole other ball game to your daily structure within the game. So as long as you understand War Dragons, I think that it's going to be a lot easier for you on the side of Aspect. Now, no, if you're still a brand new baby to the world of War Dragons, let's say you literally just started, even if you're if you're under a level 35, you can't even access Atlas, but let's say you grew really, really fast and you made level 35 within a week. That doesn't necessarily mean that you are ready for Atlas. So if you're still brand new to the game, there are a lot of things that you really need to experience and, invest yourself into before you put yourself in that highly stressful situation of Atlas gaming. Another one is you barely have time to play the game. So if you're one of those that's like, okay, well, I play every Friday and Saturday night, that way I don't miss the wars because my team barely, does it during this time or whatever it might be, then this also may not be for you because, like I told you before, earlier in the game, Atlas never sleeps. So your team's going to need you on a regular basis. And I'm not saying all day, every day. However, depending on the league you're in or the team you're on, you could be needed pretty fairly often. But if you're not logging in at least once a day, it is definitely not a place for you. Now, another reason not to go into Atlas is if you're losing steam for the game in general. And what I mean by this is if it's like, okay, I can barely keep up right now with what I have going on the regular side of War Dragons, with the events and so forth. I don't make any points in the events, and it's because I'm so busy and I'm tired, and for whatever your reason may be. If you have lost steam on the regular side of War Dragons, doubling up what you have to do by bringing in Atlas is not going to help your situation. Now, last but not least, I would say if you are way over leveled, and what I mean by this is if you go to attack a base that's on basically they're equal level to you, like their base is the same level as yours, and no matter who you attack, no matter who you hit, you are not able to beat that base with 3 dragons, even if they're not defending. You know, there are those rare cases out there where players are way, way, way over leveled. If you're that case, if you're in that situation, you really need to take the time to get your dragons leveled up and not worry about base growth so that you can actually do things in Atlas. And the reason I say that is you're not going to get any good glory if you can't attack any other bases, number one. But if you can't even get the bonus XP, because every time you do an XP base in Atlas, which is, like I said, the beasts or the mines, then you're going to have backup every single time. And it is exhausting trying to keep up with the gold runs as it is. And if you're asking your entire team to always back you, then that is just going to be way too much. So I would stay away if not. If you've decided that Atlas sounds like it's something for you after going over the pros and the cons with me today, then let me give you one more piece of advice, and that is to choose a small league team when you start out. Now, the reason is pretty clear. Number one, if you're on the higher league team, you're going to be defending against high level players. So let's say you're level 150 and you somehow get into a diamond team, then you're going to be hit in Atlas by level 500s, and you're going to really get some crappy glory. So keep that in mind when it comes to joining those higher league teams. But also keep in mind that, you know, they are more expensive to maintain when it comes to troops and so forth up that high. So I suggest going to like a gold Atlas team or platinum Atlas team, somebody that has access, and not even necessarily that has castles, just to get familiarized and start building those troops. Because in the first week of Atlas, when you first attain it, you will get what they, you know, your Atlas Elite for free for 1 week. So this is a great time to just focus in on troop building, and not have to worry about giving up gold or anything of that nature. So that is a big one. When you first get Atlas, don't worry about castles and expansion. Worry about your own personal growth when it comes to getting those those troops built up. So yeah, I would suggest somebody small, in nature, something that's not too strenuous. Now, hopefully this video helped you answer any, question you had in your mind, whether you were ready for Atlas or not. And if you are, awesome, I'm super excited for you. And if you're not, maybe in due time. So don't give up on that, that thought or that dream of finally joining an Atlas team. Now, if you out there are already in Atlas and you've got some pros and cons that you'd like to share with any of the viewers, then feel free to put that in the comment section below. And if you have any extra questions, like whether, a specific thing that you've heard about Atlas that keeps you from wanting to join or that's making you want to join that I did not go over today, then feel free to put that question in the comment section below, and I will gladly try to get back to you on that answer. So with that being said, guys, thank you again for your support. And don't forget before you leave to show me your love and give me a big thumbs up. If you didn't agree with my video today, you're welcome to give a thumbs down. I don't mind. And then, of course, like I said, if you're new to the channel, then welcome. And like I said, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and sign up for notifications so you don't miss out on future videos. All right, guys, so that is it for today's Atlas Explorer series video. But next time on the Atlas Explorer series video, we're going to be going over, you finally made it into Atlas, now what? So this is going to be your first week in Atlas, what you should be doing to prepare yourself for a more successful and more enjoyable time as an Atlas player. So I will see you guys next time here on the RPW Gaming channel with our next video. Anyways, see y'all later. Happy hunting!